Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to today's session where we are all set to understand SWAMI's investment fund about and also explore other tools available for developers which could be helpful for their funding. I'm Swarup Jitu Mohapatra, founder Orimark Property and a member of NAREDCO Odisha. Now I request Mr. Rajesh Goyal, Director General NAREDCO India, to mark a solemn beginning of this session. Mr. Goyal, please unmute yourself and address us.
Yeah, thank you, Jitu ji, and welcome everyone. This is the third session in this series which we are having. We had in two earlier ones, and now we are trying to cover most of the states, and it has been a real good experience. And this is a very nice initiative of Irfan sir to spread the information to all the stakeholders, because this is one of the initiatives taken by the government as last mite funding. And given the situation in real estate, this is a situation and this is an option which we can opt for in case we get into issues, which I hope we should not. But if we get into, this is an option which can be used. Unfortunately, the awareness of this is limited, even in the metro cities, what to talk of smaller towns. So Irfan sir has taken this initiative, and NAREDCO has been coordinating with him to spread this awareness. And I can tell you, he has been most helpful with all the builders to get through this. I know there were initial difficulties in this, but things have been sorted out in a big way, and you won't find a more positive person than Irfan sir, and a more articulate person than them, and more passionate person like him. So I won't take much time, but what I would suggest is, please try to understand the nitty-gritties of this and be free to ask any question, whatever it may be. You will find that Irfan sir will have everything to satisfy each one of us. So better, please be open. Please take the best use of this opportunity. And Irfan sir will be absolutely, you will find so much motivation out of him that the energy which Jitu ji is showing, you will find the similar energy in Irfan sir. So I look forward to have a nice interaction with you people, and looking forward to the discussion, and let it be a very productive, interactive discussion. And I wish you all the best. Thank you, Jitu ji.
Thank you, sir. Thanks appreciating my energy. I'm privileged. Thanks for initiative taken by NAREDCO through this knowledge session. We expect you to keep motivating us through different engagement sessions. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Manoj Tripathi, President of NAREDCO Odisha and VP NAREDCO India. Mr. Tripathi, I request you to address the participants.
Good afternoon and welcome to the August gathering present here. I have been looking forward to this day for quite some time. I am extremely thrilled to finally be here with all of you. I would love to welcome and thank Mr. Irfan Ekaji, CIO, SWAMI Investment Fund, for trusting NAREDCO Odisha and giving us a chance to host this seminar. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wholeheartedly welcome my inspiration and a versatile developer of Odisha, a great businessman, Mr. Tapan Mahanti, the senior member of CREDAI, for joining us in the seminar. I welcome Mr. Abhijit Misra, Chief Investment and Consultancy Services, Bastin. I warmly welcome our moderator, Mr. Swarup Mohapatra, founder Orimark Property and member of NAREDCO Odisha. So basically this seminar is about SWAMI Investment Fund. Now two questions arises here. What to do? We mean by SWAMI Fund, what benefit the stalled housing project will get. So SWAMI Investment Fund, special window for completions of the construction and affordable and mid-income housing project aims to provide relief the stalled housing project. The investment manager of this fund is SBI Cap Venture Capital Limited. Once again, I welcome all the participants, panelists, the member of CREDAI, AFOD, and NAREDCO, all the real estate developers, chartered accountant, advocate for attending this seminar. Welcome to all the panelists and attending the developers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tripathi. I take the now, Mr. Tripathi, we appreciate your involvement for this specific session. So the kind of pain you have taken, because with these things, Mr. Irfan Qazi was totally occupied in the cities like different bigger cities and all that. The kind of connect, the kind of pain using Mr. Goel and all that. We are thankful to have Mr. Qazi in Bhubaneswar for these sessions. Thanks for the initiative. Keep on doing it. Now I take the opportunity to introduce two other esteemed members of the panel. I think most of them, two of them already been introduced by Mr. Tripathi, but still then it's always my pleasure to introduce them again. It's Mr. Tapan Mahanti. He is Managing Director, Jet Estate, and a senior member of CREDAI. No more introduction required from him. Mr. Abhijit Mishra, Head Investment Consulting Services, Vestium, with a background of real estate valuations of fundraising. Mr. Abhijit will talk about the source of funding and challenges faced by developers in smaller cities like Bhubaneswar, as well as the opportunity brought forward by SWAMI Fund. Now I request Ms. Preeti Singh, Deputy Director General, NAREDCO India, to introduce our keynote speaker of today, Mr. Qazi. Yes, Preeti.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jituji. It was really nice introduction from your side. I take a pleasure, and it is an honor for us to have Mr. Qazi today as a main speaker for SWAMI Fund webinar. Mr. Irfan Qazi is a finance professional with 25 plus years of international work experience in alternate investments. He has held senior investment responsibilities in 8 major funds, including as a CIO in 4 funds. Hegde Fund of Funds, which is approximately 20 million USDs. A hospitality fund, around 200 plus million USDs. Industrial warehousing fund, and now in SWAMI Fund. A stressed residential asset fund, around 1.4 billion. So we look forward to you, Qazi sir, and we welcome you on this webinar today.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, everybody. I hope I'm audible. Rajesh, thank you so much. Thank you, NAREDCO India, as well as NAREDCO Odisha, for organizing this. I will, spend the next maybe 20 minutes or so just giving a complete background about the fund. The start, the mandate, the progress we've achieved so far, and the reason that we are reaching out to cities like Odisha. To states like Odisha. And then answer as many questions as you care to ask. And I hope that this is a knowledgeable session, but I hope even more that this translates into developers from Odisha taking advantage of an unprecedented and large opportunity that has been made available by the central government, the finance ministry, and so on. So just in terms of a background, the fund was set up about a year ago. We did our first closing on December 6th. We raised 10,500 crores. The amount is important because it's a very large fund. It's a very large fund by any standard whatsoever in India in the past. It is an opportunity of the kind that has never come up before. So it's not just a large fund, it's a social impact fund. The objective of this fund is to complete construction. The objective is not to generate a return, but the objective is still to make it to complete construction while still making it a commercially attractive option for its investors, so that more funds can get attracted towards the same purpose, and therefore the total amount raised can be increased from time to time, and so on. So let me just quickly get into the mandate. the full form of SWAMI, or SWAMI is an acronym that has been coined by some of the people working on this deal, and it basically reads a special window for affordable and mid-income housing. We have defined what is affordable and mid-income housing. So in India, affordable housing, there were several definitions from that, and harmonized list at the center. Every state also has a definition of affordable housing. Every housing development authority has a definition of affordable housing. RBI refers to, alludes to affordable housing loans and so on. But we have defined the phrase affordable and mid-income. So that is any housing less than 200 square meters RERA carpet area. And that is by any standard a very large carpet area. So that's one. And two, subject to a price of 1 crore. Now we have different price limits for different states. The price applicable in Odisha is 1 crore. So any housing less than 1 crore and less than 200 square meters RERA carpet area will meet the definition of this fund. And it's not just that. Not all the units in a housing project need to be affordable and mid-income. Some of them may be commercial units, some of them may be shops, some of them may be larger units, maybe penthouses or anything like that. As long as 90% of the total area meets the definition of affordable and mid-income housing, we can do the project. So that's one. Even if it's not 90%, even if it's 85% or so, we can still do it. And when you come to us, we will help you structure it so that it can still be done. We like to think we like to think of ourselves as a team that will provide you a solution. So give us an opportunity, come to us, and we'll find a way of seeing how this project meets the various filter criteria or the fund criteria that we have here. This is funding for brownfield projects, not greenfield projects. And by color, we are alluding to the fact that the project should be at least 30% complete. And how do you measure 30% completion? Is it 3 out of 10 floors that are completed? No, we are talking of 30% of the project cost should have been incurred. And what is included in project cost? All costs other than financial costs. So land cost, FSI cost, construction cost, architect cost, marketing brokerage cost, any other fees that have to be paid, all those costs are part of project cost. And as long as 30% of the project cost is incurred, we can fund the project. And the reason we have a yardstick here is because the objective of the fund is to provide last mile funding to complete the project. Now, especially the word last mile is something that we've placed a lot of emphasis on. When we are talking about last mile, we are talking about projects that can be funded to completion using our funds. So we are not talking of, the SWAMI becoming another component of the total funding. We are talking of SWAMI by itself being sufficient to complete the project. See, what has happened in the past normally in India is funding has been reliant on customer sales, has been reliant on receivables from customers, and so on, in addition to money that comes in from the promoters in the form of equity. It is possible, and that's the reason why we are seeing a large number of projects which have funding issues, is that the funding that is supposed to come from home buyers is not coming in or is slower than anticipated. New sales are not happening. Home buyers are not honoring or are delaying their commitments that are called for. Now, what happens in those cases? Honestly, we are almost indifferent to those cases. When we do our funding, we try and place minimal reliance on receivables. We place almost no reliance on new sales to complete the project. So when SWAMI comes in, that funding is sufficient by itself to complete the project. It is not dependent on, whether there are factors in the environment, whether there are lockdowns going ahead, and so on. That funding will be sufficient to complete the project. In fact, what makes the funding especially attractive is not just that. It is also the fact that this funding is entirely back-ended. And what do we mean when we say it's back-ended? It is not interest-based funding. There is no coupon rate. There is no quarterly payment to be done. It is a IRR-based funding. And when we say IRR-based funding, we mean funding which is, at first, there is no return of either capital or premium on the NCDs that we fund till the construction is complete. It's only after the construction is completely complete, till the OC is obtained. It's only after that any excess cash flows from the project are automatically swept back to the SWAMI fund. So that is why we call it IRR-based funding. There is no coupon or interest rate mentioned here. Incidentally, the IRR is 12%, and if you have to take a thumb rule and with typical cash flows, it will work out to an interest rate of about maybe 11.2, 11.15%. So that's what the cost of this funding is. It is entirely back-ended. In fact, we share a portion of the cash flows only with the existing lenders, and that too, maybe 10% of the cash flows can go to the existing lenders in the project. And the reason we do the sharing is the fund takes a senior charge on all the assets, on all the cash flows. And what do we mean by that? We mean that this is a last in, first out kind of funding, where as soon as our funding comes in, it is used to complete the project, and any funds generated in the project thereafter are used first to repay the SWAMI fund. Only after the SWAMI fund is repaid that other lenders in the project get cash flows, and only after they are repaid, then the developer will get some cash flows, residual cash flows, equity cash flows, or whatever. So the SWAMI fund looks for a senior charge. We provide funding in the form of NCDs. We do not provide loans. So loans can be provided by NBFCs and banks. We are a AIF, Alternate Investment Fund, a Category 2 Alternate Investment Fund. And funds can only subscribe to debt instruments. So we provide loans in the form of NCDs. So we will subscribe to that NCD, and that NCD will get repaid. Tenor of these NCDs is around, maybe 6 years, 5 years, depending on how long it takes to complete the project. A couple of things that are very important, especially in the context of this discussion, is we can do funding only for RERA-registered projects. And what flows from that is we will do funding across India where RERA is applicable. Now, that's very important because, one, we have taken the stance that RERA registration is required because that gives a certain amount of regulatory supervision, that gives the investor some more comfort and so on. But what also flows from the same thing is the fact that we are willing to do funding across India. The objective of the fund is to complete projects across India. This is not a typical private equity fund which says that we'll do most of our projects in MMR, Mumbai and Bangalore, or at best do it in Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune, or Mumbai, Bangalore, and maybe NCR. This is a fund which says we will do funding across India. So in fact, we've done a lot of funding across tier 2 cities across India. We have done, and when I say tier 2, I'm only referring to the fact that they are not in the top 7 cities of India. So we have done, we have funded, we have given approvals to projects in 26 locations outside tier 1 cities, outside the top 7 cities. So that's one. And that is important because this is one of those few funds that is coming in and saying that we are willing to do funding in cities like Bhubaneswar, in places like, across India, which are not the top 7-8 cities. And what has been a deal experience so far, honestly, is when we've reached out and done deals in the smaller cities, those deals are in many ways not very different. Right? I like to use the same words which I used in a seminar some time ago, in a webinar some time ago, is if you ignore the fact that these cities have been ignored for funding for some time, there is really nothing different. Right? The quality of the promoters is as good, if not better. The scale of the project sometimes is large, but that does not matter because I'll come to that. The quality of compliances, and that's important for us as an investor, is of a high degree. It's comparable or even better to some of the projects that we've seen in MMR, NCR, and other places. So we are looking forward to, we have done already funding in cities across India. And with that also comes the fact that this is not a fund which will talk of a sweet spot that we'll typically do deals of, let's say, 75 crores. We are willing to do deals from anywhere from, let's say, about 10 crores to up to 400 crores in a single company. With any developer, we are willing to commit 800 crores of capital so that we can do multiple deals with any developer. So that's important. What is also important is to remember that this funding can only be used for construction. And we've defined construction. We've said construction means any expenditure which is not related to repayment of a financial liability. So other than in a project, other than interest and principal repayments, everything else is covered under the umbrella of construction. Land payments, FSI payments, marketing brokerage payments, architect payments, everything, payments for approvals, etc., are all covered under construction. So the objective of the fund, if I have to, finally summarize, is one, complete and sell homes. So, I like to think of another acronym, which is CASH. So we will complete and sell homes. But more than anything else, we get a couple of things to the table which no other funding source can do. So one is we provide funding at a cost competitive rate. I mentioned the rate of funding is about 11.2% or so if on an interest basis and 12% on an IRR basis. Now that has to be compared with investor funding, which is 20% plus, with other private equity funding funds which would provide similar funding at maybe the same cost or even higher. So that's one. So it's cost competitive funding, and it's not just the fact that it's cost competitive, right? It is structured to ensure that the project is completed. There are no intermittent cash flows back to the lender. All the intermittent cash flows are in fact plowed back into the project. So that's important. Two, we bring credibility. And when I say we bring credibility, I mean what we are actually seeing that is happening in the projects that we funded. So the moment home buyers come to know that the SWAMI fund is coming in to complete the project, collections have increased in projects, new sales have happened in the project, there is a sense of relief among distressed home buyers that the project will now get completed. Hopefully what we've already demonstrated and what we'll achieve in the future will justify that we've earned that credit, that once we come in, the project will get completed. And finally, the last C in our funding, which is completeness. So we ensure that our funding by itself is sufficient to complete the project. So that's about our entire funding. I'll just quickly tell you that we've come a long way. So we were launched a year ago. We've had our fair share of difficulties because of the COVID-related lockdowns. But within a year, we have sanctioned 36 deals have got final approval. 99 deals have got preliminary approval. Between these deals, we can complete almost about 87,000 homes. So that's important. We had estimated in our market study some time ago that there are about 4.5 lakh units which require our funding. And we are close to almost 1 lakh units now, which will get completed once these prelim and final deals are sanctioned. That's all the good news. I'll also give you, a little bit of negative or onerous responsibilities that come with this funding, right? So this funding is, cost competitive and all that, but we also, follow certain steps, follow up certain procedures, which therefore, make it companies have to work, right? So we believe in not just financing a project, we believe in, all aspects of project governance. So we will look at not just, how much money is required to complete construction, but we'll also do a very detailed diligence on what is the status of approvals in the project. And there are a lot of laws in real estate. We understand that. We expect our projects to be compliant with most of those applicable laws. And therefore, there are environmental compliances, there are EPF and there are PF compliances, there are ESI compliances, there are, Building and Other Construction Workers Act, there is Migrant Labor Minimum Wages Act, and so on. And we will help the project comply with all the statutory requirements that are needed for the project. We will also, keep a very close control on how money is spent in the project. So this is not about funding which once it's approved, it will deposit, let's say 100 crores in the account of the developer. Our funding will happen in weekly tranches. We will do funding maybe once or twice a week. Funding will be only after an expense is incurred at the site. And how do we know what expense is incurred at the site? For every project, we'll have a project management company which will have its representative at the site. So they will be our eyes and ears on the ground, and they will help us and help you clear payments for work completed, for expenses incurred, and so on. So our disbursement will be in small tranches. It will be against project progress only, and it will only be after both the project management company and our own team is satisfied that that expense has been incurred, and therefore that payment is called for. We will also require the developer to delay new launches. So unfortunately, what had happened in the past is developers would launch a project, that project would get delayed or stalled, and then continue to launch maybe new phases or new projects, either in the same location or elsewhere. We'll expect that there'll be some control on future launches till at least completion of the existing project is on the horizon. So that in a nutshell is the various facets of the kind of funding that we provide. Glad to take any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaji, for the valuable insights. Having heard from Mr. Kaji and getting to know the SWAMI fund a little better, I request Mr. Mohanty to throw some light on the real estate conditions of Odisha and how far SWAMI fund can be suitable in the local conditions. I also would like to know, my fellow builders, fellow participants would like to know, with the challenges around the cities like Bhubaneswar, what could be the most suitable fund for our real estate developers? Mr. Mohanty, please unmute and address your insights.
Yeah, to start with, thank you, Jitu, very much for inviting me to participate, and special thanks to Mr. Irfan and all other speakers who have participated, and also the participants who have logged in. Thank you very much. But as we know, as we have understood SWAMI funds, this is really a very, very welcome step by the government, very timely, and a breather for the stalled project. Actually, this is an aspect, it was never been addressed by any government earlier. And particularly under this pandemic situation, when rightly, as Mr. Irfan has said, the flow of money, flow of installments, flow of money from the buyers, are dwindling, sales are not happening. So definitely many projects are under stress. So this is one way we can call it a stress fund. As he rightly said, it is a last minute, last mile funding. So it is a very, very good thing, sir. As like any other city, Odisha will definitely try to take advantage of this fund, of course, of the projects which are meeting your criteria. And as you rightly said, 200 square meter of RERA carpet area takes you to quite a good size of flat, maybe a 4-bedroom. So, and a crore rupees of flat cost in Bhubaneswar city is also quite respectable a flat. So thank you very much, Mr. Irfan, once again for very nicely detailing out everything, every nook and corner of the fund in a very, very brief, compressed manner. I think developer here will definitely try to take advantage of this and try to utilize your funding, SWAMI funding. So I look forward for a better use of this fund by our builder brothers. As Jitu said, this is definitely a good inclusion into our financing portfolio or availability of finance options. But apart from that, since all of you are representing from a very, very strong financial respectable area, I will also say Odisha also needs a little bit of financial sector which will be only focusing to financing the unorganized sector. Here, that is a shortfall we are always feeling here, because small affordable, I'll not name it affordable, I'll name it a little LIG or lower MIG kind of thing, where the flat cost is 20 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 18 lakhs, 22 lakhs. A buyer looking forward to buy a house of that category and searching for a loan of 8 to 10 lakhs rupees. but doesn't have any either an income tax profile or any financial backup to show. Those kind of financiers, I have found those kind of financiers in Gujarat, Maharashtra and Delhi, but I have not seen anybody venturing out to Odisha. So I just take the opportunity of requesting all of you, in case you come across or you can help us scouting such kind of financiers, we are most happy to welcome them here. But again, coming back to this particular SWAMI fund, as we all know, any project while running smoothly, all right, but once it is stalled for whatever reason, then all kind of problems starts happening. The lack of trust between the developer and buyers happen. No new buyers will venture out to that project. But once such kind of projects gets completed, then the project is through. Project is out of the wood, and it sells out nicely. So that is a very nice hand-holding kind of financing or stopgap basis arrangement SWAMI Fund is doing. Thank you very much, Mr. Irfan, for educating our fraternity here in Odisha, and make yourself available to explain all of us the advantages of your funding. We look forward for other question answer session, and thank you once again very much to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohanty. Thanks for the insight you shared. Thanks for the local challenges you shared. Thanks for the innovations and also you shared. I mean, the financial production of what is there in your mind. You know, you shared and what could be most suitable for Bhubaneswar per se, for my state. Like, you know, these are all the products, you know, what Mr. Kaji and I think, you know, most of the products being used in all the financial upmarket. But as far as the Bhubaneswar is concerned, as far Odisha is concerned, so likewise, you know, tier 3, tier 2 cities and all that, they are also searching for products which normally suits their growth. I mean, which can boost their local economy. I mean, that is again wonderful. I mean, it is you know, you could share your insights. Thank you very much. Now it is a time to hear from an expert, Mr. Abhijit, who can let us know about some important tool which can bring in further impetus into the realty sector of Odisha. I mean, Mr. Abhijit, I think now please unmute yourself and share your expert views. So now what could be most suitable for state like Odisha apart from the SWAMI fund? That's what, you know, my builder friends, my developer friends would look forward to listen from you. Mr. Abhijit, please unmute and address us.
Thank you, Mr. Mohapatra. Pleasure to be here. You know, share the stage with Irfan, who I'm meeting after a long time, Mr. Mohanty and Mr. Tripathi as well. I'm so proud to be here. If you know, some people don't know, I was born in Cuttack. I have spent most of my life in Bhubaneswar. I've done my engineering from Rourkela. So I am, you know, very much a son of the soil. Been in the industry for 12 plus years. I'll just give a brief background about the institutional funding for real estate in India. It all started with the RBI notification in 2005, which opened up the sector to FDI. And FDI meant we had private equity funds coming in. We had various different FDI backed funds who came in. And if we look at the numbers, almost $70 billion have come into real estate and allied industries, which include warehousing, logistics, hospitality, etc., in the last 15 odd years. If we look at the share of real estate between non-metros and metros, the number is, you know, about 70% of the organized real estate is in metros, while it's 30% in non-metros. But out of the $70 billion I spoke about, only, you know, actually less than 5% has come to non-metro cities, if we look at the numbers. And there are various reasons for this, which we have identified in some of our research over the last couple of years. One is obviously the main criteria was the 20,000 square meters. So basically project size was one of the major factors which stopped FDI developers to come through to non-metros. The second was obviously something which Irfan spoke about, while he said, the developers in smaller towns in non-metros might be, might have a good brand which is known in the location. They might be compliant to everything, but again, they might not have the brand reputation of a national player. And obviously, there were enough metro, opportunities in metro cities which made sure the FDI never, trickled down to the smaller non-metros. The second major wave of investments happened through NBFC funding, which probably started in 2013, and it was very much prevalent till 2016 and 17, till probably ILFS and DHFL happened. And again, if you see that wave also skipped the non-metros. So our analysis shows that the most of the funding that was, the construction finance and project funding that happened in non-metros was usually through banks and housing finance companies. There was obviously a lot of private finance as well. And again, a lot of projects were self-funded because most projects in non-metros were residential projects. Now, the SWAMI Fund, gives us the opportunity for developers from non-metro cities to look at last mile funding for stuck projects. As the real estate segment has seen lowered sales over the last couple of years due to various reasons, and obviously with COVID, there has been a lot of negative impact on sales. So I think the SWAMI last mile funding gives us a lot of opportunity, and there are several other advantages for non-metro cities like Bhubaneswar. In a recent report which we worked on, we think that COVID has actually accelerated the growth of non-metro cities. With work from home, you can actually say there is a lot of work from hometown which is happening. And as you know, most metro cities over a period of time have also strained physical and social infrastructure. And tier 2 cities are also growing in terms of e-commerce and digital penetration. The real estate costs and land costs are also lower in metros, non-metro cities. So this gives a lot of opportunities along with growth of manufacturing. And there is a possibility of ITES segment going in cities like Bhubaneswar as well as the startup ecosystem. So we think with some amount of reverse migration happening, non-metro cities also provide a lot of opportunities. The push is needed from the local government in terms of infra and policies, and that can help as well. And I think bodies like NAREDCO can work together with people like the SWAMI Fund, the government, and hopefully with some contribution from people like me who have their personal investment there. We can work together and look at it. In terms of SWAMI Fund, Irfan, actually there were some observations from my side why there could be some challenges in terms of developers approaching you, in terms of your checklist of things. I think there are a couple of things which I can see is one is the no investment in LLPs and partnerships, only in private limited companies. I think that is one. Correct me if I am wrong. And obviously the 10 crore amount is the next one, because a lot of projects in Bhubaneswar, Cuttack, Rourkela, and all these non-metro cities may not have the requirement of 10 crores plus. So these are the two things which I see as potential challenges. Yeah, so that's all from my end. Over to you, Swarup sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mishra. You could share all this kind of analogy of metro, non-metro, use of SWAMI Fund, other fronts, other areas like non-metro. I mean tier 2, tier 3 cities. What is the fund requirement of the developers and all that, and what should be the prospective fund requirement of the developers. That analysis is definitely exciting. Mr. Mishra, you could share your views after this. Now, this is, I think, we could get a feeler of SWAMI Fund, non-SWAMI Fund, and fitment funds and all that to different sectors. Now it's an open sessions, it's a questionnaire sessions. It's questions to all of you, all the panelists. Let me go through the questions and all
so
that.
Can I start with some answers before questions are asked?
Yeah.
Avijit, thank you so much. Avijit has pointed out two crucial things, and I think Therefore, I should give a clarification too. Absolutely right that the fund does not provide funding to partnerships and LLPs. So we are a SEBI registered fund. We can invest only in NCDs, and therefore our funding can only be to a corporate setup, to companies. What we do, however, is that we will still look at projects from partnership firms. In fact, we are already providing funding to partnership firms that have converted into private limited companies. So what we tell the developer is, approach us. We will start our work on analyzing it, taking it through the approvals, taking it through the diligence, and at the same time, the promoter, the partners can convert the partnership firm into a corporate setup, into a private limited company, so that there is significant time saved. By the time we complete all our approvals, it is also converted into a corporate structure, and we can provide the funding. We will also take a step ahead and say that if there are costs involved in that conversion, those costs will also be considered as part of project cost and will be funded. So that's the way we will reach out to partnership firms and even proprietorship companies. We are already providing funding to some companies that have converted this way. The other bit is about the size. So there is a cost involved in taking this funding. So when a promoter comes to us or when a project comes to us, we first get an internal approval and then do a detailed external due diligence. There is a cost to that external due diligence. It works out to roughly about 15 to 20 lakhs in every deal. Now that is something that is required for us to do, and therefore that cost in itself sets a certain benchmark on what would be the minimum order size in terms of transaction size that we should be looking at, and that's where the 10 crore soft target comes in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Couple of questions and all still waiting for you. I'm getting a couple of questions. Question number 1: is there any state-wise or regional-wise allocation for this fund?
No. So the objective of the fund is to complete construction wherever RERA is applicable. There is no state-wise allocation, but we are looking at stress projects. Naturally, there are a lot of stress projects in MMR and NCR. So most of the funding will go there. While we'll be funding only a portion of all the stress projects in the country, the sample we choose and the sample we choose to invest in will still follow the rules of the way the population is distributed. So since most of these stress projects are in MMR and NCR, most of the funding will go to projects there. But we are also seeing a lot of funding go to projects in Pune, in Bangalore, and in other cities. And that's why we are also reaching out to a lot of tier 2 cities in the process.
So no specific allocation from the funds.
Yeah.
It's open for the entire cities. I mean, across the country, it's open. So it all depends on your eligibility for the funds and all you can avail it. The question number 2 is, what is the process to monitor if the allocated fund is utilized by the developer on the respective projects?
So we have a very detailed process. Like I mentioned earlier, we appoint a project management company, which will have at least one person stationed at the site, in the site office at all times. So he will be able to give us, that PMC representative will be able to give us site reports on material movement, on labor mobilization and so on at the site. That will be a very useful input for clearing bills that arise as a result of completion of construction at the site. So we will fund only expenditure that is actually incurred. We do not give advances against expenditures to be incurred, etc. And therefore we are able to keep a very, if I could use the word respectfully, a tight-fisted control on how the money is utilized and how utilization corresponds to project progress.
Thank you, sir. Nicely addressed these questions. And question number 3, is there any expectations timeline for execution of the project once funding is received?
So the answer is yes.
Expectations timeline once
the
funding is received?
Answer is yes and no. And let me elaborate. The amount of time it takes to complete the project will depend on the stage the project is in when it comes to us. So there are projects which meet the 30% criteria and are, let's say, 35% complete. And there are projects which are 95% complete. So obviously the latter category of projects will get completed very quickly. and then we'll stay in just for enough and more time for sales to happen and for our money to come back. So that's one. But there is also another expectation that comes with this, when you take SWAMI funding, which is the focus on completing construction. Traditionally, what has happened is construction has always been paced or calibrated to the velocity of sales, or the rate at which sales are happening. So if sales happen faster, the developer will plow the money received from sales into construction, and if sales slow down, then construction slows down. When in a SWAMI funded project, the emphasis is on construction and construction only. We work on the presumption that a completed home will sell, and therefore, regardless of the pace of sales or whether there are any sales at all, our focus will be on completing construction at the earliest, and that focus will be so intense that we will ask the developer to initiate construction on 3 different fronts. If you are going up vertically in one building, and if the second building can also be started, then we will ask the developer to continue to start construction simultaneously on both buildings and any other place, so that the time to completion is minimized. That is the entire focus of the fund.
Thank you, sir. So no specific timeline, but definitely there is a focused timeline and all that, so that you complete the project within a time frame. So that's again a good sign of the fund. Question number 4. One among the criteria of availing SWAMI fund is the project should have completed at least 30% of the constructions and development. Does that 30% of the fund include the land cost? And what if for 30% completions bank loan has been availed? What is if the bank loan is availed? That 30%.
So the 30% includes all costs other than finance cost. So land cost is included within the 30%. So as long as 30% of the total project cost is incurred, and my emphasis is on incurred, then the project meets this. That funding could have been, that expenditure, 30% expenditure could have been incurred, using sources of funds that could be anything. It could be bank loans, it could be barter funding, it could be promoter funding, it could be funding from trade creditors. That does not matter. What matters is at least 30% of the expenditure should have been incurred. And then the other important thing, which I think this is as good a time as any to clarify, is this is a funding that is available for any project which is stressed. And when we say stressed, we mean any project where the cash flow requirements are such that the inflows cannot match the construction outflows that are expected to be incurred at the project site. So if there are significant interest and principal liabilities to be paid, and after settling those, there is very little money left for construction, then obviously inflows have to increase. And if sales are not happening or collections are not happening, then the project and the promoter can approach us for funding.
Thank you, sir. Nicely answered, sir. But question number 5 is, can builder with ongoing projects who are looking for funds apply for this? The ongoing projects, who are looking for, it's not a stress project, it's an ongoing project. He doesn't know whether it's a stress one and all that, it's an ongoing project. But that is what the bigger challenge.
So this is a funding for stress projects, only where there are cash flow issues. So we provide, our solution is in the form of capital, where capital is required to finish a project, where capital is required to continue construction at a healthy pace. What happens at a lot of sites is construction is never stopped. There is activity, but that activity does not lead to any material progress. So when there is a funding constraint, as a result of which there is only superficial activity at a site, or when a project is considerably delayed and there are not enough funds to pick up the pace of construction, that's when you need SWAMI funding, and that's when you should approach us.
How do you define that? What is the parameter for that? Project is stalled, project is just stalled. It is
no.
How
So
do you define that? Is there any parameter?
So that's simply different levels of stress in a project, right? There are projects which are beginning to experience stress. There are projects which are in the middle of a crisis, and there are projects which have actually, if I can use the word, failed. There's been a built-up of stress, and now the project has reached a stage where activity has completely stalled at the site. we can look at any project where any amount of stress has started to build up in the project. So we do not have to wait till the project is completely stalled, or when the project is beyond repair or beyond a solution. We can start funding a project if our analysis shows that the inflows aren't sufficient to take care of the cash flow requirements to continue construction at a reasonable pace.
Thank you. The question number 6 is, can this fund be used for modifications and upgradation purpose in a stalled project? Can it be used for modifications and upgradations in a stalled project, sir?
So it can be used, but there is a time beyond which and after which we do not expect any modifications to happen. So there might be a change of plans in a project which is either stressed, and we will take into account the change of plans, prepare a funding plan for that new plan, and then get those approvals. But once that approval has been taken, we expect to complete the project only along those lines. There can be no further changes in the scale of the project or in the in the features of the project.
Thank you, sir. So now question number 7. So now 135 projects are enrolled and 36 projects are approved. So what is the funding amount for the project? Funding amount per project? So now what we have funded per project?
So we can go up to 400 crores. We do not give the details of the exact amount that we are funding in any one project. We do not make that detail publicly available because we think that that will negatively affect that developer's ability to negotiate with the contractors and so on. So we share information on which are the projects that have received a preliminary approval. We share information on which projects have received final approval, but we do not share information on how much money has actually been disbursed to those developers. In any case, whatever we decide to fund a developer will be disbursed over the next 2-3 years. It will not be given at one instance. It will be disbursed as construction progresses and as construction is completed.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think these are few questions and a couple of questions. Yes, small questions, and I'll take little time of yours.
Sure.
This question is an amount disbursed till date. Someone is asking.
Ifranji, SWAMI fund required any collateral security?
Yes. So we look at all project collateral as primary collateral. And in 9 out of 10 cases, that is all the collateral we ask for. So there is a first charge on all project collateral. Whatever we are funding and completing, we'll have a first charge on the land. We'll hypothecate all the receivables. We'll have personal guarantees. We'll have corporate guarantees. We'll have share pledge. Beyond that, we normally do not take anything unless this collateral is by itself insufficient.
Any questions? And I don't find any questions on the left. So now thanks for the question put and very well answered. So now about the SWAMI fund. SWAMI funds, and I think my fellow builders and participants, they could get an idea, and my state, my city get certain kind of an idea of availing the stressed asset fund. So it's a wonderful session. So again, the wonderful initiative by NAREDCO. As all good things come to an end, it's a time to wrap up the beautiful sessions as well. I thank each one attending the session for their kind presence. On behalf of the real estate fraternity, I express my gratitude to the reward members of the panel who spared their time to provide us with the precious insights which will which indeed to be instrumental in refining our real estate industries of Odisha. I think we get wonderful insights from the sessions. I expect Mr. Goyal, Mr. Manoj, Mr. Manoj Tripathi to contribute this kind of knowledge sessions to our city, to our state, so that keep us informed, keep us intimated, keep us empowered through this knowledge session. Thank you NAREDCO Odisha. Thank you NAREDCO India. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I just
quickly?
Yeah,
Can I just quickly add a line here, which somehow I didn't quite cover. The procedure for applying to the fund. So the procedure is very simple. Anyone can visit our website sbicapventures.com. We have a detailed FAQ there, which will provide significant insight into what are the criteria, etc., for getting this funding. We also have the application form on our website in the FAQs. We have also mentioned the email ID to which the application form needs to be sent to. So anyone who thinks of applying to the fund should complete the application form that is available on our website and email it to us at ahf@sbicapventures.com. And our team will then get in touch with him and guide him through the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information. So I think our team NAREDCO will take it forward. Anyone is interested, know that they can apply for it. Any kind of coordinating supports are required. I think our team NAREDCO is there to handhold it. Thank you very much. Thanks for the sessions. Thanks for your valued time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.